Hello and welcome to the final day of Radio Days from Autistic Radio for Christmas 2025. In the other broadcasts, we've been looking at co-production with professionals, and I want to move closer to us now. When we have the opportunity, we ask people to come in and make short introductory podcasts with us. And sometimes that leads to people being more involved with us. I'm going to play one from GR. Short introductions to GR with music by the Nomen.
We speak our words, we listen.
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 I hear you were listening to Bob Dylan, Love and Theft earlier. Is music one of your big things then, Gia?
Yeah, music is. It started off with the Rolling Stones. I saw the Rolling Stones on Top of the Pops in 1978 performing Miss You. That was a life-changing moment. It's taken me halfway around the world. I've seen the band 130 times. I've got over 1,000 cassette tapes of recordings. I've got everything they officially released and most everything they haven't released, thanks to wonderful bootlegging. The Rolling Stones took me, listening to their music, I went back to their roots, which is the Delta blues of the 1930s, then into Chicago blues and then rock and roll. I pretty much like most sorts of music. I'm not really into dance or pop. I'm of an age where contemporary music is pretty much a head scratcher for me, but that's always been the same. Older people generally don't go for younger people's music. Doesn't mean it's bad. I'm just not their audience anymore.
Okay, Gia, that was a wonderful introduction to yourself. Hello again, and welcome to Autistic Radio. This is one of our programs where we hear from an autistic person with an enthusiasm, a passion. We're speaking to GR. GR is an audiophile, somebody who has a whole collection of contemporary music from his era. Hi, GR. Hello today.
Hello.
Hello, mate. We're good. So, when you originally contacted me, what was the idea behind it?
Well, about a year and a half ago, I saw a request on a local Autism Hampshire charity Facebook page from some students who wanted to make a film about late diagnosis of autism in adults. I contacted you about the film because it's an important issue.
Okay, I'm going to play it and we're going to see where we go from there.
Our lives may seem eccentric and weird, but they have meaning and value. My name's Gary Robertson. I'm 62 years old. I was diagnosed with autism at 53. And I wrote some lyrics, which I called Autism Man, which Kilmarnock's finest cult band, the No Men, recorded. So this is No Men, Autism Man. I hope you like the song and I hope the message gets out. We are neurodiverse, we are here. Our lives have meaning and value, even if they seem weird and eccentric. I have very good spatial perception. I struggle with social situations. I've pushed myself in the past. No handshaking. Bright fluorescent lights aren't good for me. Sudden noises aren't really good for me. But I have pushed myself in the past and masked very, very well, and I can still do that, but I would rather not. Eye contact is not good either. Panicky, I don't like it at all. I mean, I can suppress it. Like when I go to town, I tend to laser focus on one thing, and when I focus on that, like when I go to Southampton, I mean, I'm just going round the same route that I always go round, and that's how I get through it. It's also part of the routine thing. I've got a fixed routine for everything. I very rarely don't follow my routine. When I do, it's quite uncomfortable. I can get through it, but it's not a situation I like to put myself in. There's a TV series called Extraordinary Attorney Woo, and there's a quote in that: "Our lives may seem eccentric and weird, but they have meaning and value." And that's very true. We are different, we are diverse, and we have a lot to offer the world, and really it's just a little bit of patience and understanding is all it needs. The serendipity group is what you want it to be, really. I just tend to sit and listen to people talk. I do talk. It means I find out about other people with the same condition as I have, and I can just go there and sit there, and I can just learn about other people, and doing so learn about myself. And it's a safe space. It's what you bring to it, really. I'd say if you want to sit there and listen to people talk, or if you just want to sit there and just be quiet, or if there's an activity going on, you don't have to take part in it. You can or you can't. It's just a pressure valve, really. You can just relax.
Well, there's lots of things that you say there that people who identify themselves as autistic later in lives will also identify with. Thank you for that, GR. That's lovely.
Yeah. There's just one thing I want to say, because at a social group they showed the films, and someone said to me that you're a film star, and I really want to emphasize it's not about me, it's about us. It must be about us.
I think that's a lovely sentiment that you're expressing there. And it really fits with what we're doing here, GR. Autistic Radio is about us. It's not about any of the individuals involved, even though at different times they speak their own truths that might be different from each other.
In A Late Discovery, there's a part where Charlotte, the director, who's on the spectrum as well, she asks me why I did the film, and I said because I have a voice and some of us don't have a voice, and I think I'm reasonably articulate and some of us aren't articulate, so sometimes one of us will have to speak for the situation that we are in.
You've got a lot of support here in the text. We're playing in the band, says somebody. Hear, hear, says another. And you use the word serendipity, which Raymond particularly likes as one of his favourite words.
Yeah, serendipity is the name of the social groups that are organised by Autism Hampshire. Yeah, it is a nice word. There are certain words that I really don't like and I don't like to say. Funnily enough, I don't like the word autistic simply because it sounds like a sharp, stabby word. But I like the word autism because I think it's a smooth flowing word, but hey, that's just me.
I like what you're saying there. I empathise with what you're saying there because the sound of a word is important. I want to go to the text of what you expressed when you were being interviewed in that last interview, because you described yourself there as diverse, and you used the word diversity rather than divergent or neurodivergent. Is that a purposeful decision?
I will use the term ND, but I will use it as neurodiverse. I don't really use the word divergent. It seems slightly derogatory. You are diverging away from the norm, whereas I think diverse is a more inclusive term. But it's down to what they want to identify with. If someone says they're neurodivergent, that's fine. The only term that I really do not like at all is Asperger's, because of the historical connotations of that word.
You give me a feeling of a very kind man, and I think that is a lovely thing. So when there are people listening to this broadcast and they have a very strong preference for the word neurodivergent, I hope that they will be kind to you, because even though in the dictionary diverse has synonyms like divergent, and it can be used in different contexts to express how a person feels, there is a movement for people to only use very specific terms and not allow people to choose terms and not allow people to use common usage of words. So I hope the people who post on the internet will accept that you have a preference for using the word diverse, and that you're not confusing the paradigm of neurodiversity. You understand that neurodiversity includes the whole of the human race, but you choose to use the word diverse to say that you are part of the group that is not part of the majority. Have I expressed that correctly, or am I making assumptions?
I think it's entirely down to a personal, whatever you want to label yourself is fine. That's the way I label myself. And to me, we're diverse. There's a lot of us and we're all different. We're just like neurotypical people. There's a lot of us, and the experience of autism is personal to each of us. I've not met people who have autism who are much like me. They're different, and I accept that difference.
I'm going to include some of the texts here and give the names of the people. Raymond originally said, "Hey, we're playing in the band," and feeling is communication. He also says that diverse is open. As a word, it feels open. Robbie says, "I won't use Asperger's for the same reason as you." Robbie says, "I won't use Asperger's for the same reason." Ray comes back with, "The dictionary is just a toolkit, a palette." I like that metaphor. Painting with words, using words in poetic ways and not sticking to rigid meanings, I think is quite a big part of communication. And you're being described here as very insightful. I hope that means something to you.
It's very humbling. I just consider myself, with the Hampshire Autism film and the Autism Man song, I have been labelled an autism advocate, and I'm just someone with autism who can talk about it and who can clearly describe how I feel and what it means to me. When I wrote the lyrics for Autism Man song and I read them out at a serendipity group, one of the people there was saying, "That's me, that's me." I'd never really thought beyond just getting those words down on the paper to get the song written in a way that would communicate really with the neurotypical people.
What you represent to me, Gary, is an identifiable group of autistic people with autism who are in their middle age, they're male, they have a gentleness about them and a consideration about them and a kindness about them. And I think that's a very positive representation of autism. So just being yourself, for me, is advocacy.
I also think that kindness is people, when someone's kind to you, there's a deficit that you now owe a kindness to someone else. And when you're kind to someone else, that will balance your karma or whatever you want to call it. For example, like the other week, I went to my local supermarket and there were no shopping trolleys down by the entrance, and there was an old lady on crutches and she said, "I can't see a trolley anywhere." I'd wheeled one down from the other end of the car park, and I said, "Well, that's okay, you have this one." And I just walked back and got another shopping trolley. I mean, it was just something small, but you know, being kind isn't necessarily curing a disease. It's just a small act, and it can make a lot of difference. It can make a lot of difference for people. So don't think that kindness has to be big and massive and huge and it's a Hollywood production. Kindness can be just something small. Yeah, I had this 12 bar blues in my head for a long time, which was the chorus. And I contacted a musician I know called Dave Renegade, and he said you should send that to the No Men. I've been an avid fan of the No Men for about 10 years. And I said, here's a 12 bar blues. I just had the chorus. Alan No Man sent me this instrumental and he said, here's the tune, write the lyrics. It took me 2 days to write those lyrics. They did their No Men magic. So if it had been a blues, I think it would have been a lament. They've done it in a very rocky way. It's very Rolling Stones, Primal Scream, Iggy Pop. They've turned it from a lament. They've done it as a song of pride and a song saying, "This is us. We're here." You know, it's a song of standing up for yourself and being proud of who you are.
That's a great introduction. Let's hear the track. Autism Man there, by the No Men. Lyrics by Gary Robertson. Find them on Toppler's record, thenomen.org. Wow, thank you, Gary. I can see that people in the text saying that they're rocking along to it, that they see the influence of the Stones there. Somebody says, drop detuning. West Coast Scotland has a tradition for this sound. I'm rocking in my seat. Totally hear the Stones influence in there. Brilliant stuff, GR. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for sharing your words, your art, your conversation with us today. And for listeners out there, bring us your stuff. Here on Autistic Radio, we have a platform for you. We'll record with you and put you out in our series, Short Introductions To. Today's been a short introduction to G.R. Robertson and the No Men. Cool, Gary. Thank you.
Autistic Radio is about us, it's for us, and it's from us. Autistic Radio is about you, it's for you, and it can be from you. We have every single Sunday Drop-In, 4:44 p.m. every Sunday. That's not live, that's us getting together, us talking, community. Every Sunday, Harry leads a 5:55 p.m, a discussion around the Facebook page that he creates. Involve yourself by suggesting what we should talk about next. Share it with Harry. And then the bigger picture. Advocate. Use us. Speak to the world. Your project, your idea, your enthusiasm. We have a whole range of different programs that will fit what you want. As far as listening goes, there's some challenging stuff out there. Because amongst the identity, the entertainment, and the community, we also make serious programs with autism professionals, challenging their ideas and bringing what you say in other spaces to them. Listens. I really enjoyed it listening to that again. Since recording with us, Gary has become a regular stalwart of the Autistic Radio family. And that's something you can do too. I'm going to play something from another one of our regular contributors. It's from Lucy.
We speak our words, we listen.
We speak our words, we listen.
We speak our words. We listen.
We speak our words. We listen.
Hello again, and thank you for joining us again. As you know, Lucy is one of our regular contributors here, and we started a conversation with her about her advocacy work. Are you ready to tell us the inside of that now, Lucy?
Absolutely looking forward to this part.
We heard that you were picked out a professional who was there to support you. They had seen your communication skills and they were pushing you forward, pushing you to say, will you come and speak to a group? How did you feel about that?
Both intimidated and really excited, because obviously standing up in front of a group of people, whether it be big or small, it doesn't really matter. It takes a lot of push to do it, even for the normal person. I was a sort of, okay, what's that going to look like? Because I do like to think things through to that degree about how things are going to look and feel. But then again, it's very exciting because I've got so much experience, and my whole life has been an experience of neurodiversity, right from when I was born with my father. And I thought, I've got so many stories. I've got so much that I keep in my head. So this is an opportunity for me to both educate others and to find a place to put my experiences.
So what does advocacy look like when you are invited by the professions to have a space where you can speak out?
It looks like I walk into a new set of people and a new environment where I need to speak. I am very aware of my surroundings, and physically there is adaptation you have to make there, and you have to really think through what this is going to look like, how you're going to speak to them. You can't really do any pre-preparation. I found that trying to be prepared sometimes is a waste of time because it's the unexpected stuff that you got to deal with. I've got my patter. I can reel off all my life experiences, but my idea is interaction. It's not just me giving a speech. It's an interactive experience. So there are lots of faces looking at me. There are a lot of different voices that are going to be coming at me. And I think the term is gird your loins and screw your courage to the sticking place. I think that's Shakespeare. And just say, whatever happens here, it's fine. I could do well here. I could do badly here. It's fine. I'm not going to come out of this feeling bad. I'm going to be all right.
Everything I'm hearing here sounds like a challenge. Everything I'm hearing sounds like you're screwing up your courage. You're taking some kind of mask with you and having to negotiate how much of the real Lucy is on show and how much you are coping with everything around you. It feels restricting to me. It feels as though you were thrown into a situation where you had to use all of the life skills that you've learnt so far, and not everyone's going to be up for that.
The first time I walked into a situation, I was actually in a training session, and everybody was going around the table and they were introducing themselves one by one, and I was part of that as well. And I hate doing that bit where they say, tell us something about yourself. And I stood up and I didn't know what to say. And I just went, hello, I'm your show pony. I'm going to be the person who's going to just kind of show you the way. And it is always a challenge. Yeah, it is always a challenge, but I need challenge. I need it. I spent a lot of my time before this just sitting with this, keeping my own counsel. So it's now a thing where I can go into a room and do it. And I do call myself a show pony, and people can kind of treat me and speak to me. I don't mind, but everything is a challenge. Everything is energy, and everything is just being able to just breathe and get through it.
Yeah, I'm hoping here that when you advocate on Autistic Radio, it's a simpler and an easier, less stressful circumstance. I go out and give presentations in front of rooms of people, and my experience of the two is that I would far prefer to be here. But to be an advocate, sometimes you are forced into these non-autistic spaces, and it is, like you say, a show that you're putting on, a performance that you are putting on, because that is what is demanded of you. That is often a shame, I think. That doesn't necessarily mean that the majority of us manage to advocate in those circumstances. You seem special. I'm going to the text, and a question here. Is advocacy going out from a safe space, or is it a retreat?
It's coming out of a safe space for me. I'm going out from my safe space and being exposed, I guess. Suddenly I'm not surrounded by familiarity, and I'm not doing my usual daily routine. It's a break. I'm coming out of my space into the world. Yeah, I feel quite exposed when I'm out there, but I'm learning to live with that a little bit. Whatever happens from this point out, I can't always have complete agency. I don't know what's going to be out there. I've got to just do this. Whatever happens here, it's going to be all right.
The same person has texted. So advocacy as a thriving structure, not necessarily as a job. Advocacy is not your job, but do you see it as part of thriving within your own autistic identity? Is that the place it takes for you?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. This is not my job. It's almost like a thing I do because I need to be out there and share all this. I'm performing, I'm learning, I'm finding myself in this as well. So a lot of this maybe is a bit of building my own ego, building my own confidence, building my own strength, and knowing that I don't need to always have to retreat into a safe space.
And they've responded to you by saying that to them is the real job, and job is in capitals. Another texter says that they, when feeling a bit stressed, public speaking, they always use humour to lift the tension in the room. I heard you saying to them right at the beginning that you were the show pony. So did that get a laugh and then ease things and move on?
Yeah, it's true. If you could be a bit humorous and light-hearted about it and go, I know why I'm here. You've invited me here for a reason. I'm not sitting in a room of non-autistic people and answering questions for any other reason. I am the show pony. I'm the, hey, come on. We all know, we know what my role is here. You're going to be now asking me difficult things about my autism, and I'm going to be showing off a bit, really. I like to be a show off in these situations and be able to make people kind of, I want people to like me, because I don't think that's terrible.
No, that's not terrible at all. I don't get the sense that you're being self-deprecating here. I know that a lot of autistic people, to make a joke, often almost turn it on themselves and say, well, that would be me. You know, I would catalogue everything in alphabetical order. You can now laugh at my autism, and then we'll feel that the tension has been relaxed. And I remember seeing one of the comedians who I can't bring immediately to my mind, and they said that they had decided that it was very important for them not to be self-deprecating about their autism and not to use that kind of humour, that they had to ensure that they were putting out a strength and a positivity and not going for the easy joke. Does that figure in what you're saying?
Yeah, I understand that there is a little bit of self-deprecation in that, but you know, it's about making the space comfortable, isn't it? The big thing is that they don't know what they're going to say to me. I don't know what they're going to say. You know, I don't know what they're going to say. So maybe a little bit of self-deprecation is handy, where we can get the level in the room from being just people staring at you to people actually wanting to join in with you. I don't want to come across as cold or unapproachable. So the best way to do it is to find a place where we can have that little bit of, okay, it's fine. We're all going to be fine here. It's not that serious. This is just discussion.
And a texter here is saying, this is very stimulating. This latent creative energy that you're engaging with. They visualize you, Lucy, as having a creative need through her life and through her experiences and education that you're now expressing through advocacy. So advocacy for you is an art form that you're developing.
It's, yeah, and there is a kind of a creative need in me. I've always been like that. It's having a way of expressing yourself. Self-expression is really important, being able to kind of make your mark. And you need to, I think there's a little bit of that in all us autistic people. I think we're creative thinkers, and we think in a really interesting and diverse way, and that's a great thing to be.
Yeah, you've just been agreed with in the text, and with many in the community, somebody texts there. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. Our contribution through you is this art of advocacy. How does it fall? What happened over the period?
My first experiences were tentative and grounded within quite an autistic friendly space. I was then invited to go forward a little bit further. The same person who actually put me in touch with the counsellor as an expert by experience also got in touch with somebody who was looking to find somebody to help them bring the message of autistic people into the wider world. So I was given an opportunity to be part of a group where I was going to be consulting and helping and shaping the way that they're going to portray. They wanted to put together a mental health autism help sheet. I was going to be consulted on that and giving them a proper autistic view. So I sat down with them and I told them my story, and I explained to them that I'm always looking for chances to push forward and speak to people, and that I've got a lot to tell. And they invited me then into their group. And I've been working with this particular group now for about 3 or 4 months. We've done a lot of things together. And I feel like every time I go there and I speak, it feels really nice to be part of a group. It's nice and structured for me, which is fantastic. I can sit there, and if they want to pick my brains, I'm there for it. And I feel really open there now. Every time I go there, I feel like I can speak. It's come to a bit of a climax now where we're getting to the other end of this project.
So your in has been this group. You've built a confidence and a comfortability with the group. Where did it lead from there?
I guess it was a testing ground to start with, meetings in the evening, and we discussed it all. Now, their target and their mission really was to get through to the Autism Acceptance Month part. They work in women's health. That's what the group I work with do. So they were looking to try and be part of the Autistic Acceptance Month by putting together a kind of a help pack for people, like something where they could seek information. And so that's where what we were building towards. Now, that came to fruition, obviously, at the beginning of this month, when we put together all our resources. I had written some pieces on misdiagnosis. I'd written some pieces on my story. I'm happy for my image to be used and my words to be used. And then we built together a little stage for us in a library near my home, where we could put together our literature and try and talk to the general public, people who are just using the library, and finding a little community hub for us. That's where we were going with this. Now, that has been done. When they were putting together a talk. Now, there are a couple of autistic women within this group, and they did their own talk, and I came along to that. But through that opportunity, I found that there was also a film crew that had been asked to come along and maybe document some of this for local news. And I wasn't really prepared for that, but I was asked by the lady that was organising everything if I wouldn't mind just ad hoc going in, sitting down and being interviewed for the television. Now, I was a little bit about that because it's, having a camera pointed at you and 3, 2, 1 and you're on was quite difficult, but I did that. That was fine. I discussed how I feel that we're now in a place where we can have discussions about neurodiversity. We can have discussions about autistic people. Through this month, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is raising awareness and being able to say that we're open to conversation and we're open to speak to the world about who we are and what we do and how we think. So that was great. I did get that done, which was a tick in the box for me because I wasn't expecting to be able to cope, but I did. And then after that, I found myself interviewed for local newspapers as well, having to find words for everything. I found it a challenge, but it's not too much of a challenge. Once I get going, I'm fine. But from there on out, I also spoke to some of the general public. I was on this stall with a big photo of myself behind me, so everybody could see who I was. And it was great. I was having conversations with real people, having a first real kind of interaction with an autistic woman. And I felt that, being autistic is kind of like being seen as a minority, and being an autistic woman is kind of a little subsection of that. So I was really pleased that when people coming up and asking me questions, just being curious about me, and I say about the show pony thing, but it is a little bit like that. But it's just nice. I just felt really good that I was having a genuine conversation with somebody who was very interested in what this neurodiversity thing was about. And at the moment, I'm still with this group and we're looking to push it further. Do more. You know, they can learn more. I can teach them more.
So the story here is contrary to what many people view as what autism is. Closed down, silent, locked up, inability to communicate. The story here is about a person who, with their autistic compensations, is managing to advocate for the autistic population in a way that's relatable to the general public, in the format the general public wants, in person, in front of an audience, being interviewed by newspapers, speaking to the television, all of the things that the majority of autistic people would find overwhelming. The story is to say that, yes, there are examples of the autistic population that can adapt themselves, have learnt through their lives, have accumulated skills, and be advocates in the format that is requested of them. But the rest of us, maybe that's not for us. The rest of us, we have to advocate in different ways. Is there a sense in which you're being picked out because of your abilities, and there might be the loss of the rest of the voices because of that? That because they've got Lucy, they don't get other people who would be uncomfortable with this whole scenario?
That's a really interesting question. I've got to say, yeah, it's a very interesting question.
All the skills that you have described fit the model that the general population want. Television, interviews with newspapers, standing up in front of presentations, in front of audience, interacting with the public in the library, on a stall. And that's that's a group of one. That's Lucy. And the majority of autistic people haven't got those accumulated skills that make that possible. So how do we avoid the rest of the autistic population from being missed out? How do we, as the vocal people, manage to bring forward the rest of the population's experience in these formats that are inappropriate generally for autistic people?
Yeah. Okay. That is a very good question. I'm not really, I hope that I'm not portraying us in a way where I'm sort of maybe representing that we've all had this side to us. And I do like to tell people that actually I'm really unusual in terms of being able to communicate in these complex and difficult ways. And it all comes from the fact that my upbringing was with a father who was autistic, who would make himself uncomfortable all the time in order to fit into the world. So I know that I am unusual in the sense that I can say, yeah, I'm happy to be in front of a television camera. Yes, I'm okay to be on the radio. Yes, I will do this. I say yes and I do it because that's a challenge to myself. But I do point out that I have these skills because I've taught myself these skills. They're not in everybody, and they certainly weren't in me to begin with, but I'm getting there and I'm learning. But what I am is a representation of everybody around me, all the autistic people I meet, you know, all the people that I'm kind of mixing with in these, like on stalls and things. I like to remind them that there are so many people who will not do this, who cannot accept, you know, being out there in the public. And I try and make it known that what I'm doing is something that's a bit different, that's a little bit more complicated than the usual autistic experience, because I push myself into difficult places. Always mentioning that push, always having to say, this is not always comfortable for me, but I'm happy to live with the discomfort.
Normally I leave the last word to the main contributor. But in this case, I'm going to go to the text because I think it's quite an important place to leave our conversation together today. The texter says, "It's strange how inclusion can itself seem to create exclusion, and maybe vice versa." And they say that you, Lucy, are a pioneer in the frontier between those worlds. You can hear Lucy here on Autistic Radio regularly in the 444 drop-in recordings and also occasionally in the 555 Spectrum Voices, Harry's Facebook conversations. If you have a version of advocacy that you want to describe here on Autistic Radio, speak to us, text us, work out a way that we can cooperate with you to have your advocacy put out through our medium. And thank you for listening today. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you, Jules. It's been good.
Autistic Radio is about us, it's for us, and it's from us. Autistic Radio is about you, it's for you, and it can be from you. We have every single Sunday drop-in, 4:44 p.m. every Sunday. That's not live, that's us getting together, us talking, community. Every Sunday, Harry leads a 5:55 p.m, a discussion around the Facebook page that he creates. Involve yourself by suggesting what we should talk about next. Share it with Harry. And then the bigger picture. Advocate. Use us. Speak to the world. Your project, your idea, your enthusiasm. We have a whole range of different programs that will fit what you want. As far as listening goes, there's some challenging stuff out there. Because amongst the identity, the entertainment, and the community, we also make serious programs with autism professionals, challenging their ideas and bringing what you say in other spaces to them. A lot of those are difficult listens, but it's a holistic gathering. It comes all together. Autistic Radio is very varied. We need a favour. To encourage us, we need you to share us. When you share us, you give autistic people power. When you share us, you make us impossible to ignore. When you repost on LinkedIn and Facebook and anywhere else, you're advocating for everybody in the autistic community. So pick the things that you're happy with and get them out there. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you from all of us. I really enjoyed listening to both of those broadcasts this afternoon. Both contributors, people who we took a short introduction podcast as a format to involve, and now they're part of the Autistic Radio team. We'll be back for the last of Radio Days, 4 p.m. broadcast in just a few minutes, and we're hoping to have a special guest arrive, so let's see what happens.